The year was 2157, and humanity had been waiting for this day for nearly a century. Captain William Carter stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Dawn Explorer and took a deep breath. His plain blue uniform had been specially designed to look slightly primitive compared to what Earth's fashion actually was. His ship, too, had been carefully downgraded for this meeting. "Are you ready, Captain?" asked Samantha Boyd through the secure communication channel that only he could hear through his neural implant. "As ready as I'll ever be to pretend we're cosmic toddlers," William replied quietly. Director Boyd was the head of Earth's Contact Management Division, overseeing what would soon become the largest act of deception in human history. From her command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, she coordinated the final preparations. "Remember, the Galactic Confederation thinks they discovered us through our early radio signals. They have no idea we've been watching them for the last 70 years. William nodded even though she couldn't see him. "And we'd like to keep it that way." On the bridge, his science officer Elizabeth Summers was making final adjustments to the ship's systems. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel as she reduced the ship's power signature and disabled all but the most basic defensive capabilities. "AI functioning at 12% capacity as ordered," she reported. "All advanced tech is hidden behind fake panels. Weapon systems appear to be primitive missile launchers rather than quantum disruptors." William smiled. "How does it feel to be the smartest person in the room, but having to act like you barely understand basic physics?" Elizabeth tucked a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. 4 years of acting classes are finally paying off. The truth was that humans had mastered faster-than-light travel nearly 50 years ago. They had colonized 12 star systems without alerting the Galactic Confederation. Earth's defensive grid could repel fleets 10 times the size of anything the Confederation possessed. But today they would pretend to be taking their first steps into the galactic community. "Contact in 5 minutes, announced Peter Reeves, the communications officer. "Their delegation ship is approaching." William squared his shoulders. "Everyone remember the brief? We're excited, a little scared, and very impressed by their technology. We've barely figured out how to leave our solar system, and we're eager to learn." The crew nodded. They had rehearsed this moment countless times, the alien ship that appeared. On their view screen was impressive by Confederation standards. A sleek vessel with glowing blue engines and an elegant curved design. To the untrained eye, it looked far more advanced than the Dawn Explorer with its bulky frame and visible rivets, all carefully crafted disguises for a ship that could actually outrun and outfight anything in the Confederation fleet. "They're hailing us," Peter said. "Open communications," William ordered, his face adopting an expression of nervous excitement. The view screen shifted to show 2 alien beings. On the left stood a tall, purple-skinned humanoid with ridges along its skull, a Zelt, one of the founding species of the Confederation. Beside it was a shorter, gray-skinned alien with 4 arms and large black eyes, a Voxari, known for their scientific achievements. "Greetings, humans," the Zelt said in perfect English. They had been monitoring Earth's broadcasts for decades. "I am Ambassador Corax of the Galactic Confederation. We welcome your species to the greater community of spacefaring civilizations." William put on his best amazed expression. "This is incredible. We've dreamed of this moment for generations. I am Captain William Carter of Earth. We are honored to meet you." The Voxari stepped forward. "I am Science Director Neil. Your achievement of faster-than-light travel, however primitive your method, qualifies your species for contact. We have much to teach you." Elizabeth bit her lip to keep from laughing. Humans had moved beyond the type of warp drive the Confederation used decades ago, now using quantum folding technology that the Confederation hadn't even theorized yet. "We would be grateful for your guidance," William said, sounding appropriately humble. "Would you like to come aboard our vessel? I apologize for its simplicity." The aliens agreed, and preparations were made for docking. While the alien ship approached, William received another message from Director Boyd. "Perfect performance so far. Remember, we have good reasons for this deception. The last 3 species that entered the Confederation with advanced technology were either forced to share it or were seen as threats and contained. We need time to assess their true intentions. The alien delegation boarded 30 minutes later. The humans watched with hidden amusement as the visitors tried to hide their condescension when looking at the primitive technology around them. "Your propulsion system is interesting," Science Director Neil commented, examining the engine room. "Though highly inefficient, with some adjustments based on our technology, you could improve speed by at least 40%. Elizabeth nodded eagerly while taking notes. "That would be amazing. Our current engines took us 20 years to develop." In reality, she had personally designed an engine system twice as efficient as anything the Voxari had ever built. Ambassador. Korax walked around the bridge, touching panels with a mix of curiosity and pity. "Your weapon systems are adequate for defending against asteroids, I suppose. But there are dangers in deep space your people cannot imagine." William tried to look concerned. "We've only encountered one other alien species so far, and they were peaceful traders. Are there hostile forces out there?" "All the more reason to join the Confederation," Korax said smoothly. "We can offer protection while your species matures." The meeting continued for several hours. The aliens explained basic concepts of galactic politics, technology, and culture, all of which humanity had studied extensively for decades. The humans asked carefully crafted naive questions and expressed appropriate awe at the answers. As the alien delegation prepared to leave, Ambassador Korax handed William a data crystal. "This contains an invitation to send representatives to the Confederation Council. We believe your species has potential, Captain Carter. With our guidance, perhaps in a century or two, humans might become significant contributors to galactic civilization." William accepted the crystal with both hands as if receiving a sacred object. "We are honored beyond words, Ambassador. This is more than we could have hoped for." After the aliens departed, the bridge crew maintained their act for 10 more minutes, standard protocol to ensure they weren't being monitored, before finally relaxing. Elizabeth collapsed into her chair, laughing. "A century or two, did you hear that?" William grinned as he opened a secure channel to Earth. "Director Boyd, first contact complete. They bought it completely." "Excellent," Boyd replied. "The greatest show in the galaxy has begun. Now let's see what they're really after." 6 months had passed since first contact, and humans had settled into their roles as the galaxy's newest and seemingly most primitive members. On Nexus Prime, the gleaming capital world of the Galactic Confederation, Jack Nelson sat in the Grand Council chamber pretending to be overwhelmed by its splendor. In truth, the Earth ambassador found the massive crystal dome rather gaudy compared to the subtle elegance of Earth's underwater cities. But his face showed only wide-eyed wonder as he gazed upward at the swirling holographic displays of star systems. "Ambassador Nelson, are you following the discussion?" asked Talia, his Zelt guide. Her tone was the kind adults use when speaking to very young children. Jack blinked and put on a sheepish smile. "I'm sorry, it's just so amazing. Our buildings on Earth are mostly made of concrete and steel, nothing like this." Talia nodded with the satisfaction of a teacher whose student was properly impressed. "The Council Dome was built 800 years ago. Perhaps one day humans will create such wonders." Jack bit his tongue. Humans had built a habitat on Europa using self-repairing crystal structures nearly a century ago, but he just nodded gratefully and returned his attention to the council meeting. The topic today was trade routes, something Earth was very interested in mapping. Not that Jack would show too much interest. That wasn't part of the plan. Across the city in the Confederation Science Academy, Daniel Wright sat in a classroom filled with aliens of various species. As one of the first human exchange students, he had spent months pretending to struggle with concepts he had mastered as a teenager. His Voxari professor, Selene, was explaining the basics of quantum communication, and so, the entangled particles allow for instant transmission of data across any distance, though the technology to maintain entanglement beyond a few light years remains theoretical. Daniel raised his hand, adopting the slightly confused expression that had become his trademark. "Yes, Student Wright," Selene said with practiced patience. "I'm trying to understand. If you used a cascading field to stabilize the quantum state during transmission, Wouldn't that solve the degradation problem? Celine blinked her large black eyes. An interesting thought, but the energy requirements for such a field would be... She paused, her expression changing as she actually considered his suggestion. Daniel knew he was walking a fine line. His innocent question had just outlined a solution that Confederation scientists had overlooked. That's actually worth exploring, Celine admitted, though the mathematics would be quite beyond your current level, Daniel. Daniel nodded, looking pleased at the praise while mentally rolling his eyes. He had written his doctoral thesis on quantum field stabilization when he was 22. Now at 35, he found it increasingly difficult to play dumb. Thank you, Professor. I'm just trying to learn. Later that day, Daniel met with Lisa Monroe at a small cafe overlooking the capital's Central Plaza. Lisa's cover was as a cultural attaché, but she was actually Earth's chief intelligence officer for the Nexus Prime operation. You need to be more careful, she said quietly after they exchanged pleasantries for any listening devices. That professor of yours submitted your question to the Science Council as a research proposal. Daniel sipped his drink, which tasted nothing like coffee despite being the supposed Confederation equivalent. Sorry, it's just frustrating watching them stumble around solutions we found decades ago. Lisa nodded. I know, but remember why we're here. The Confederation has 17 member species, but they're divided into clear hierarchies. The founding species, the Zelt, Voxari, and Maldorians, hold all the power. Newer species are barely more than client states. If they knew what we're capable of, they'd either try to steal our technology or contain us. Daniel finished. I know the brief. Lisa's eyes softened. 4 more weeks, and your rotation ends. You can go back to actual research instead of this charade. Their conversation was interrupted when a group of Zelt military officers entered the cafe. Lisa immediately shifted her posture, becoming more animated and less focused, the cultural attaché persona slipping back into place. Oh my gosh, the art exhibition yesterday was amazing, she gushed loudly. I've never seen such incredible sculptures. Daniel played along, discussing alien art with appropriate enthusiasm, while Lisa's enhanced hearing picked up fragments of the officers' conversation. Her implant recorded everything for later analysis. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, another human student named Ryan Foster was getting his first tour of a Confederation military vessel. As a supposed engineering trainee, he had been granted limited access to the cruiser Stellar Vanguard. This is our main reactor core, explained the Maldorian engineer Krav. It generates enough power to fuel our fastest drives and weapon systems. Ryan looked suitably impressed, though the fusion reactor was at least 3 generations behind what Earth currently used. Amazing, he said. On Earth, our best reactors are still primarily fission-based. This is like science fiction to me. Krav's chest swelled with pride. The Confederation has refined this technology over centuries. Your species will benefit greatly from our knowledge. How fast can a ship like this travel? Ryan asked, sounding naive. We can reach speeds of up to 15 light jumps per standard day, Krav said proudly. No known vessel can travel faster. Ryan knew that Earth's fastest ships could make 25 light jumps per day, but he just whispered, wow, with appropriate awe. Later that evening, all 3 humans met in Jack's ambassador quarters, which they knew was bugged. They carried out a loud, slightly foolish conversation about their experiences for the benefit of any listeners. When Ryan turned on the sonic cleansing station in the bathroom, the sound disruption gave them a few minutes to talk freely. The Confederation fleet is moving additional ships to the Delvin sector, Lisa reported quickly. Something has them worried. I heard rumors in class about an aggressive species on the outer rim, Daniel added, something called the Drakari. Jack nodded. The council tried to hide it, but there was a report about border skirmishes. They don't think it's serious, and they certainly don't think we need to know. Director Boyd needs this information, Ryan said. I'm scheduled for a homesickness call to Earth tomorrow. I can transmit then. The sonic cleaner beeped its cycle completion, and they immediately shifted back to their roles. Three overwhelmed humans grateful for the Confederation's guidance, hiding their true purpose and the fact that Earth already knew all about the Drakari threat. In her office beneath the Pacific Ocean, Director Samantha Boyd reviewed the latest reports from the Nexus Prime team. Beside her, a holographic display showed the movements of Confederation and Drakari fleets, carefully compiled from the bits of intelligence her team had gathered. "They're still underestimating the Drakari," she murmured to her assistant. "Just like they underestimate us." "Should we warn them?" her assistant asked. Boyd shook her head. "Not yet. First, let's see how they handle this crisis. It will tell us everything we need to know about how the Confederation treats its members when real danger threatens." She gazed at the star map, where a small red dot indicated Earth. Around it, invisible to Confederation sensors, Earth's true defense fleet waited in quantum-masked formations, ready if needed. "The humble student act has served us well," she said. "But students eventually graduate. The question is whether the Confederation will be ready for that day." The emergency meeting of the Galactic Confederation Council had been going on for 3 hours. Jack Nelson sat quietly in the human delegation's seat, watching the alien representatives argue. The Drakari Empire had attacked and taken control of 3 Confederation worlds in the past month. Now panic filled the Grand Council chamber. "Their ships appeared with no warning at Valari Prime," said the Zelt Supreme Counselor, his purple skin pale with stress. "Our defense fleet was destroyed in minutes." Jack listened as the alien delegates shouted over each other. Some wanted to send their biggest fleet to fight the Drakari. Others wanted to try to make peace. No one seemed to have a good plan. Jack had been told by Earth's leaders to stay quiet and observe, but he saw an opportunity. He pressed the button that would let him speak. The council fell silent, surprised that the human wanted to talk. Most of them still saw humans as children who needed guidance. "The human delegate wishes to speak," announced the council leader with mild surprise. Jack stood up, doing his best to look nervous. "Forgive me for speaking when we are so new to your Confederation. We humans are not experienced in galactic war, but perhaps we could help in some small way." The Voxari representative tilted her head. "What could Earth possibly contribute to this conflict?" Jack lowered his eyes humbly. "We have 5 ships that might assist your forces. They are not advanced like yours, but our people are eager to help our new allies." There were a few condescending smiles among the council members. 5 ships were nothing when the Confederation had thousands, but the council was desperate for any help. "We accept your offer with gratitude," the council leader said formally, though Jack could hear the lack of enthusiasm in his voice. 2 days later, Commander Ryan Foster stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Valiant. 4 other human ships floated nearby, all of them looking simple and underpowered compared to the massive Confederation cruisers gathering for the defense of the Valari system. The Confederation admiral, a tall Maldorian named Zex, had just finished, giving orders to his fleet. He turned lastly to the human ships on his view screen. "Human vessels will remain at these coordinates," he said, sending them positioning data. "You will be far from the expected battle zone for your own protection. Your ships can observe and provide moral support." Ryan nodded with fake gratitude. "Thank you, Admiral. We understand our limits." When the communication ended, his crew laughed quietly. The coordinates they had been given were indeed far from where the Confederation expected the battle, but Earth's intelligence suggested it was exactly where the Drakari would actually attack. "They're putting us in the safest spot because they think we're weak," said his tactical officer, Linda Gray. "But they don't know what we know." Ryan smiled. "Keep our real systems powered down. Maintain the appearance of basic ships. Let's see if our intelligence is correct." 6 hours later, Space Tour opened not where the Confederation fleet waited, but exactly where the 5 human ships had been positioned. 17 Drakari warships emerged from faster-than-light travel, their dark, spiked hulls bristling with weapons. On the main Confederation ship, Admiral Zex was shocked. "The Drakari are attacking from Sector 7. All ships, change course. Immediately. Humans, retreat at once, I repeat, retreat." On the Valiant, Ryan activated the ship-wide communication system. This is it, people. Let's put on a good show. Communications. Make sure we sound appropriately terrified on all channels. His communications officer, Alan West, began broadcasting panicked messages. This is Earth vessel Valiant. We are under attack. Multiple Drakari warships. We need immediate assistance. Meanwhile, Linda was activating systems that the Confederation didn't know existed. Quantum shields online. Targeting systems ready. Special countermeasures armed. Remember, Ryan told his crew, we need to make this look difficult. Nothing too advanced. Make it seem like we're barely surviving through luck and determination. The Drakari ships opened fire, their energy weapons blazing across space. To the distant Confederation fleet rushing to help, it looked like the human ships would be quickly destroyed. But the primitive human vessels moved with surprising agility, avoiding most of the attacks. The 5 Earth ships spread out in a pattern that looked random but was actually a carefully planned formation. They fired what appeared to be simple missile weapons but were actually delivery systems for advanced countermeasures, specifically designed for Drakari technology. Ryan gripped his chair as the Valiant shook from a glancing hit. Perfect. Make sure that gets broadcast. We want to look damaged. For 20 tense minutes, the human ships fought against the much larger Drakari force. They moved erratically, sometimes appearing to nearly collide with each other, all while delivering precisely targeted strikes at key points on the Drakari vessels. By the time the Confederation fleet arrived, 3 Drakari ships had been disabled, and 2 more were retreating. The remaining Drakari vessels quickly regrouped and jumped away. Admiral Zex's face appeared on the Valiant's view screen, his expression a mixture of shock and confusion. Commander Foster, how did your ship survive? Ryan had practiced this moment. He wiped sweat from his forehead and tried to look like a man who had narrowly escaped death. I'm not entirely sure, Admiral. We got lucky. The Drakari didn't seem to consider us a real threat. We used that to our advantage. The Admiral stared at him. Your primitive missiles should not have been able to penetrate Drakari shields. Ryan gave a tired smile. We aimed at what looked like external sensor arrays. Our scientists thought those might be less protected. Once those were damaged, the Drakari ships seemed less coordinated. It wasn't the full truth, of course. The human missiles had contained specially designed quantum disruptors that temporarily created gaps in the Drakari shield systems. But the Confederation didn't need to know that. Admiral Zex nodded slowly. It seems we have underestimated both human ingenuity and Drakari strategy. Your people fought bravely today. News of the lucky human victory spread quickly through the Confederation. Most species viewed it as a fortunate accident or the result of Drakari overconfidence. But military leaders began to look at humans with new interest. Back on Earth, Director Samantha Boyd reviewed the battle footage with her senior staff. Phase 1 complete, she said with satisfaction. The Confederation now sees us as surprisingly capable underdogs rather than helpless newcomers. Her chief strategist nodded. The Drakari will be analyzing the battle as well. They'll know something isn't right about our technology. Good, Boyd said. Let them wonder. Next time they face human ships, they'll be more cautious, maybe even a little afraid. And fear makes enemies predictable. She turned to the holographic display showing the position of Earth's real defense fleet, still hidden from both Confederation and Drakari sensors. The Drakari conflict is moving faster than we expected, she told her team. We may need to accelerate our timeline. Tell our people on Nexus Prime to prepare for Phase 2. Across the room, an analyst raised his hand. Director, should we be concerned that we're using the Drakari threat to advance our own agenda in the Confederation? Boyd's expression remained neutral. We're not creating this threat, just responding to it. The Confederation isn't prepared for the Drakari. We are. Sometimes protection requires deception. She looked at the battle reports again. Besides, not a single Confederation ship was lost today because our vessels were in the right place. We're saving lives while protecting our interests. That's the balance we need to maintain. 3 months after the battle at Valari, the status of humans in the Galactic Confederation had changed. No longer seen as complete beginners, they were now viewed as surprisingly resourceful underdogs. This was exactly what Earth wanted. Daniel Wright stood before the Confederation Science Council, nervously adjusting his simple gray uniform. The large chamber was filled with the top scientific minds from 17 alien species. His former teacher, Professor Selene, sat in the front row, her forearms folded neatly in her lap. "Please present your findings, Mr. Wright," said the chief science officer, a tall Zelt with age-whitened skin. Daniel activated the holographic display. It showed the design for what he called advanced defense shields. In reality, these were simplified versions of technology Earth had used for decades. "Based on what I've learned from studying Confederation shield designs," Daniel began humbly, "I believe we humans might have a small contribution to make." He explained how combining Voxari energy distribution principles with a new human concept could make shields 20% more effective against Drakari weapons. He was careful to use simple terms and give most of the credit to his Voxari teachers. "This is quite impressive for a species at your development stage," the chief science officer admitted. The other council members murmured in agreement. "Professor," Selene looked proud, believing she had helped nurture this human's talent. "As you can see, with proper guidance, humans are quick learners." Daniel lowered his eyes modestly. "We are grateful for your mentorship." What no one in the room knew was that Earth ships already used shield technology 5 times more advanced than what Daniel was presenting. But the design he shared would help Confederation ships survive Drakari attacks, while still being simple enough that humans could claim to have just figured it out. The Council voted to implement Daniel's shield improvements across the Confederation fleet immediately. Meanwhile, at the Nexus Prime Military Headquarters, Lisa Monroe had been promoted from cultural attaché to human military liaison. She sat in a strategy meeting with top Confederation commanders, including Admiral Zex. "The Drakari have gone quiet for 2 weeks now," the Admiral said. "No attacks, no movements." "They're planning something big," said the Maldorian general. "Their next target will likely be a core world, not just a border colony." Lisa cleared her throat softly. When she spoke, she used the careful tone of someone who didn't want to overstep. "If I may ask a question, what about Proxima Centauri?" TR. Commanders looked at her with surprise. Proxima Centauri was the star system closest to Earth's sun. "Why would they attack there?" asked Admiral Zex. "It's just a small human colony, not strategically valuable." Lisa looked down at her datapad. "Our scientists have been monitoring unusual energy readings at the edge of our system. We thought it might be sensor malfunctions, but after studying Drakari attack patterns..." She let her voice trail off, as if uncertain. The room went quiet. Then the Admiral pulled up a star chart. "Show me these readings." Lisa displayed the data Earth had carefully prepared. It showed evidence of Drakari scout ships operating just beyond the Proxima Centauri system. "This is very concerning," the Admiral said finally. "But why would they target your colony? There are richer targets nearby." Lisa shrugged helplessly. "We don't know. Perhaps because we're new to the Confederation? Perhaps because they saw our ships fight at Valari? What she didn't say was that Earth intelligence had discovered the Drakari were planning exactly this attack. Humans wanted the Confederation to send ships to defend Proxima Centauri, but they needed to make it seem like the Confederation's idea. After the meeting, Admiral Zex approached her. "I will assign a defense fleet to your colony. Your people fought bravely at Valari. You deserve protection." Lisa thanked him with appropriate gratitude. As soon as she was alone, she sent an encrypted message to Earth. "Defense fleet approved. Proceed with Phase 2. 2 weeks later, a massive Drakari fleet jumped into the Proxima Centauri system, just as Earth had predicted. Waiting for them were 12 Confederation ships and 3 improved human vessels. The battle that followed was carefully orchestrated by Earth. The human ships, commanded by Admiral Maria Davis, performed well but not too well. They used their new shield technology effectively and focused on defensive maneuvers to protect the Confederation ships. In her command chair, Maria issued quiet orders to her crew. Remember, we need to let one Drakari scout ship escape. Target the main battleships first. The battle lasted 6 hours. The combined human Confederation fleet successfully defended the colony, destroying 9 Drakari ships and forcing the rest to retreat. As planned, a single Drakari scout ship escaped. What no one in the Confederation knew was that Maria had deliberately allowed that ship to escape with sensor data. The data showed energy readings from the human ships that hinted at much greater power capabilities than the humans had revealed so far. 3 days after the battle, Jack Nelson was summoned to an emergency council meeting. The Confederation leaders looked troubled as he entered. "Ambassador Nelson," the council leader said formally, "we have received a communication from the Drakari Empire. They are requesting peace talks." Jack allowed himself to look surprised. "That's wonderful news. Why? Do they want peace now?" The Voxari representative answered. "They specifically asked for humans to be part of the negotiations. This is unusual." Jack knew why. The Drakari had analyzed the sensor data from the escaped scout ship and realized humans were hiding their true capabilities. They wanted to assess the real threat level. "We would be honored to participate," Jack said humbly, "although we have limited diplomatic experience with interstellar matters." The council agreed to include humans in the peace delegation. Jack was instructed to choose a human diplomat to join the talks. Later that day, Jack contacted Director Boyd through a secure channel. The Drakari took the bait. They want peace talks with humans at the table. Boyd's voice came through clearly. "Perfect. Send Christopher Owens as our representative. He knows what to do." "The Confederation is still clueless about our true capabilities," Jack reported. "They think the Drakari want humans involved because of our surprising resourcefulness at Valari and Proxima Centauri." "Let them think that," Boyd replied. "Christopher will play the role of an inexperienced diplomat, but he'll make sure the peace treaty includes terms that benefit Earth. The Drakari will understand the subtle message we're sending them." Jack nodded. "What about the shield technology Daniel shared? The Confederation is implementing it across their fleet." "That's fine," Boyd said. "It helps them survive, which serves our purposes. Remember, we're not here to conquer the Confederation. We just need them to respect us when they eventually learn the truth." After ending the call, Jack stood at the window of his ambassador quarters, looking out at the gleaming spires of Nexus Prime. Somewhere out there, the Drakari were preparing for peace talks, now wary of humanity's hidden strength. The Confederation remained oblivious, still believing they were the teachers and protectors. Jack smiled to himself. Phase 2 had been completed even faster than expected. Soon would come Phase 3, the gradual revelation of Earth's true power. Not enough to frighten their new allies, but enough to ensure humanity would never be treated as junior partners again. 2 years had passed since the peace treaty with the Drakari. The Galactic Confederation had returned to normal life, and humans had become respected members. Earth had slowly revealed more advanced technology, always careful to make it seem like they were learning and developing with Confederation guidance. Jack Nelson sat in his usual seat in the council chamber, listening to a routine discussion about trade routes. After 2 years as Earth's ambassador, he had mastered the art of looking interested in boring meetings. But today, something was different. There was tension in the air. Suddenly, all communication devices in the chamber beeped with an emergency alert. The council leader's aide rushed in, his purple face pale with fear.
"Supreme Counselor," the aide gasped, "long-range sensors have detected multiple unknown vessels approaching Confederation space. They've already destroyed the monitoring station in the Outer Rim." The chamber erupted in chaos. The council leader
Called for order, then activated the main display screen. It showed a fleet of strange ships unlike anything Jack had seen before. They were massive black structures that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "The Void Heralds," whispered the eldest Voxari council member. "They were supposed to be extinct." Jack leaned forward. "Who are the Void Heralds?" The council leader looked at him with grim eyes. "A machine intelligence that nearly destroyed galactic civilization 10,000 years ago. They disappeared into deep space and were believed gone forever. Over the next few hours, reports flooded in of Void, Herald ships attacking Confederation worlds. Their weapons cut through the best Confederation defenses with terrifying ease. Even the improved shields based on Daniel's design were useless against them. The Council called an emergency session with all military leaders. Admiral Zex presented a bleak assessment. The Void Heralds have already destroyed 3 colony worlds. Their technology far exceeds our own. At their current pace, they will reach Nexus Prime in 14 days. The Council chamber fell silent. Then the Zelt Supreme Counselor turned to Jack. Ambassador Nelson, does Earth have any suggestions, even if they might seem inadequate? Jack looked around the room. Every alien face showed the same hopelessness. This was the moment Earth had prepared for, though they hadn't expected it to come like this. Jack sat up straight, and for the first time in 2 years, he dropped the act of the humble junior ambassador. His voice was clear and confident as he replied, "Actually, we do." The change in his demeanor caused the council members to stare in surprise. "I need to speak with my government immediately," Jack continued, "and I'll need full access to your communication systems." The council leader nodded without hesitation. "Of course." Within an hour, Jack had established a direct link to Director Boyd on Earth. Her hologram appeared in the council chamber, visible to all the alien representatives. "Director Boyd," Jack said formally, "the situation has escalated beyond our timeline. The Void Heralds have returned." Boyd's expression remained calm. "I understand. Activate Protocol Revelation. Authorization Boyd 7 Alpha 9. Jack nodded. "Acknowledged." He turned to the confused council. "What you're about to learn may be surprising." Within minutes, communications began pouring in from across Confederation space. Reports of previously unknown human ships appearing near major worlds. News of strange energy signatures activating around planets that had seemed to have minimal human presence. On the main display, a new fleet of ships appeared near the advancing Void Heralds. They were clearly of human design, but unlike anything the Confederation had seen before. Sleek, powerful vessels that moved with impossible speed. Admiral Zex stared at the screen in shock. "What is this? Where did these ships come from?" "Earth's actual defense fleet," Jack said simply. "What you've seen until now was just a small fraction of our capabilities." The council erupted in angry questions, but Jack raised his hand. "There's no time for explanations now. The Void Heralds must be stopped first." On the display, they watched as the human fleet engaged the Void Heralds. The battle was intense but not one-sided as expected. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, their weapons actually damaging the seemingly invincible enemy. In orbit around Nexus Prime, more human ships appeared, dropping their quantum camouflage that had kept them hidden for years. The Voxari science director approached Jack, her large eyes full of confusion and betrayal. "You've been hiding your true technology all this time? Why?" Jack met her gaze calmly. "History has taught us that when an advanced civilization meets a less developed one, the results are rarely good for the less advanced group. We needed to be sure you would accept us as equals first." On the displays around the chamber, more reports came in. Human technicians were upgrading Confederation defense systems far beyond their designed capabilities. A quantum AI network called Sentinel had taken control of Confederation communications, coordinating the defense of a dozen worlds simultaneously. As the council watched in amazement, Lisa Monroe entered the chamber. She no longer wore the simple outfit of a cultural attaché, but instead was dressed in the formal uniform of Earth's Strategic Operations Director. "The Void Herald advance has been halted at the Krell system," she announced. "They're remaining. Ships are regrouping, but we've identified weaknesses in their defenses." The council leader found his voice at last. How long have you been watching us? Studying us?" Lisa exchanged glances with Jack before answering. "Earth has been monitoring the Confederation for 73 years. We've had faster-than-light travel for nearly a century. The colonies you know about are just a small fraction of human-settled worlds." Admiral Zex, who had been studying the battle data, looked up in disbelief. "Your weapons technology, your defenses, They're at least 100 years beyond what you showed us. Jack nodded. In some areas, yes. In others, more. The Supreme Counselor's face had shifted from shock to anger. You deceived the entire Confederation. You made us believe you were primitive. We did, Jack acknowledged. And now we're saving your civilization from extinction. Perhaps that counts for something? Before the Council could respond, the main display showed a massive Void Herald vessel, approaching Nexus Prime. Confederation defenses fired but had no effect on the massive ship. Then, 3 human vessels moved into position. They generated a strange field that surrounded the enemy ship. Within seconds, the Void Herald vessel simply dissolved. The chamber was silent again, but this time with awe rather than fear. What happens now? The Council leader finally asked. Jack looked at Lisa, then back to the Council. Now we fight this war together as true equals. And afterward, if you're willing, we begin again with honesty between us. Daniel Wright entered the chamber, followed by Ryan Foster and other humans who had been living on Nexus Prime. No longer pretending to be less than they were, they stood tall and confident. We have much to share, Daniel said to his former professor, and perhaps some things to learn as well. The Council members looked at each other, then at the displays showing human ships protecting Confederation worlds from the greatest threat they had ever faced. The Supreme Counselor sighed deeply. It seems we have no choice but to trust you now. Jack smiled slightly. That was all we ever wanted. Trust based on who we are, not fear of what we can do. Outside the Council chamber, across the stars, the true might of humanity was finally revealed, not as conquerors but as protectors of a galaxy that had underestimated them for far too long.